And for our viewers, I just want to apologize if I have thread all over me. I was making my masks before I came. So moving on, we have anything for agenda
Shelley,
changes.
before you go on, everyone should know that this meeting is being recorded, and in accordance with the law, we're going to tell you that up front. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have someone that phoned in, if they can mute their microphone, ending in, the number ends in 55. Or Kyle, if you have access to that, there's a little feedback. Okay, this time we have no agenda changes. Moving on, do we have any presentations, Mr. Rich?
No.
Administrative report. So we'll start with you for the superintendent's report.
Okay. Is there any questions with the campus construction report? Just for the record, we are still on schedule to open, and things have been moving well and progressing well over at Jarvis. And so if anything changes on that, I'll certainly let all of you know. But as of right now, we're still on schedule, which is a good thing. The next thing I want to talk about is just acknowledging all of the workers that have been doing a tremendous job thus far with obviously what's going on. So we have cafeteria workers that are coming in every day. We're serving about 750 to maybe 730 to 750 meals a day. Sometimes we've gone more than that, but on average, let's say 750 meals. That's not an easy task. And if you were to walk over at the cafeteria right now, you can see all the bags laid out for the next day. And I just really give them a lot of credit and give Barb Chrisman a lot of credit for kind of spearheading that. I also need to talk about our transportation with all of the monitors, the bus drivers, Chad, who is spearheading that effort as well. It's not easy. And as soon as we start doing all of the educational materials and things like that, it's even going to get more difficult. But they're doing a tremendous job, and I really appreciate them on the front line as well, doing what they're doing every day. The administrators have been working extremely hard, putting together the continuity of plan, education plan that will be being rolled out. I don't know if everyone was getting my letter today. My letter is a general overview of what will be happening. And then we are sending out all of the building specific continuity of learning plans next. So my letter kind of just gives a broad, big brush overview, and the principals will be sending their letters out next and discussing and talking about what it's going to look like for each building. Again, that's not going to be easy once we start this. And then finally, the teachers have been working tremendously hard with trying to figure out how to make this all work. The technology, as you can see, is not easy. Technology at home is not going to be easy. And we're going to work through those problems as they come into us. And I guess my comment on this one is we got to get good at this. And we're not the only ones in the state or in America that are going to need to be good at this, because this is going to be a long haul in front of us. And there are going to be times where we just are not sure if we're going to be in session or not, in my opinion. And so if we get kicked out and have to close, we hopefully will be able to roll into what we're doing now. And it's going to be different, and it's going to feel different, and it's not going to be easy for anybody. I also want to talk to the community and just let the community understand that we understand that this is not going to be easy. I have 3 children. They have 3 different areas where they have to go. My wife is working from home, and my youngest child needs more assistance maybe than my older children, but at moments they all need assistance, and it's not going to be easy. And especially if you have younger kids, that's going to be even more difficult. So there's a lot of stresses happening for everybody at home if parents have lost their jobs and things. But we still have an obligation to educate, and we're going to figure this out. And no one has the answers right now, but we've put together a plan that we're going to try. And that plan will certainly adjust itself and change as we move through it. And we know that. But we have to start someplace, and we'll start where we're going to start, and then we'll adjust as we get moving along. So I just, and as a Board of Education, all of you are going to get a lot of questions if by chance you happen to see somebody, because we all still move around and go to the, get food and still try to do our best to stay home. But I know you move around, or if people are texting you or calling you, you will get questions. And so we'll do our best to maneuver through all of that. I'll try to update as much as I can. And as things are fluidly changing, we will certainly give that feedback to the public. I directly get emails from the public and I answer them back. I mean, questions like, are we supposed to be in school today or not? And things like that. And I try to answer them back as quickly as I can. So it's just, it all looks different. Moving on, although our next meeting is tentatively set for May 27th, 2020, this will be subject to change based on any new directives from the governor. And then meetings that we will need in the future, we'll have a regular meeting to adopt the proposed 2020-21 spending plan. We'll need an annual budget hearing, and we'll need an annual budget vote, board election, which is tentatively set for June 2nd, 2020. And again, that could change. We'll play it by ear and see what happens with the executive orders from the governor. So overall, everyone's been doing a great job. I know it's been very stressful. Everybody's been stressed in different ways. And I've been trying to send out individual updates to you, as well as the teachers, as well as to the community, as well as to the administrators. And it's ebbing and flowing. There's some good days and there's some tough days. And we will continue to work through those days as they come to us. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Moving on to business officials report. Mr. Humphrey?
I sent you.
You gotta unmute yourself.
I sent everyone the March financials along with a projected budget. I also sent out the last 3 years and this year's 3-part budget. Is there any questions specifically for any of those items that I had sent out? Again, as Jeremy and I work through this, there's going to be our first quarterly adjustment to our state aid made sometime in the first week of May. And that might give us a better idea of where we're going to end up next year on the revenue side of the equation, which will make some adjustments between now and when we adopt a budget for what the spending plan might look like. Currently, we have a couple of ideas that are going to get us closer to the number that the legislature adopted. But there's the idea of this pandemic adjustment that's in there that could cost us another $800,000 that we would have to quickly adjust for in our spending plan for next year if we're not going to receive any of that revenue. So that's basically what we're focusing on right now, is the $818,000 that they could still potentially take away from us. Anything I can answer?
I sit on the school board's webinars every Saturday, with the commissioners and interim commissioners. And the hot topic right now is whether or not we move forward with continuing to pay our contractual obligations, such as like transportation. So that is one that they are waiting for an executive order from the governor to determine whether or not we need to continue to fulfill those obligations. So as of right now, we are continuing to pay all of our contractual obligations.
April's paid.
Okay. All right. I just wanted, because I know that, there's been a lot of discussion in regards to those.
No, I know. No one's answered them yet, though.
No, and I think every conversation they have just basically is the same about waiting for the executive order from the governor. So, all right. Thank you. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Thank you.
If there's things specifically you would like a number for, like what does this cost us or that cost us, email me and I can share with you and the rest of the board so that you can start to get ideas of some of the different numbers that we may be talking about.
Great. For board discussion, the thing that I wanted to make sure that I shared out to, I don't know if you had a chance to see my email, about kind of our obligations as a Board of Ed. A lot of things are changing that has to do with a lot of our policies and what is being put out for the executive orders. And, you know, I appreciate Mr. Rich kind of fielding those text messages from me, because as I'm sitting there, you know, on my webinars and you know, hearing the questions and trying to get answers, I ask him about, you know, do we need to make revisions to our grading policies, things like that. So he's been really good about making sure that everything is being vetted with the attorneys to make sure that we're obviously not doing anything or violating anything. So I appreciate that, but I really recommend you to, if you have a chance, even to just sign up for them, because they will send you the link of the recorded webinar. So Shannon Tahoe, the interim commissioner, Chris Soriano, who's a special education, he's on there, as well as Dan Fuller and Jay Warona. And I think that they have a lot of great questions are being sent to School Boards Association, and it's basically just an opportunity for them to field the questions and provide us the answer. So a lot of the time too, they'll share information with us before it gets even out to the superintendents, unless the superintendents are on there. So it'll give you an opportunity to make sure that you're in the know and you know what's going on with everything. So I highly recommend that you guys join those, and then when you get a chance, you'll get the link and you can listen to it at your convenience. But they also ask, if you do have questions, to send them in by 5 o'clock the night before, so they can get them all set. I think, you know, I wanna extend, you know, our appreciation to the administrators, our directors. I think Barb Chrisman is probably the unsung hero right now. I heard kind of the rumblings in the community about how appreciative they are with the meals and the fact that we are, in fact, providing the transportation to get those out there, the buses. So I really want to just extend our appreciation for everybody kind of working together. Tensions are high. Emotions are high. Exhaustion is high. I know myself. It's been really difficult sitting on the computer all day and webinar after webinar after webinar, or Google Meet, and then trying to provide the support for my own kids at home. It's not easy. So I just want to, you know, kind of express to our teachers too that, you know, everything's changing. It's going to change 50,000 more times. Just breathe, take it in stride. You know, we want to make sure that our kids' social emotional needs are being met. And, you know, we all do the best that we can do. And there's certain circumstances that are going to happen. And just know that you have the support from the Board of Education to help you navigate these times, because it's certainly all new to us as well as it's all new to you. So I just wanted to make sure that we shared that out. Was there anything else for board discussion? Yep, you got to unmute. Yep.
Just a quick question. I was just wondering, as we're moving into the online learning and the distance learning, Do we have any plans to get devices? I know the high school has devices, but in the elementary hands of the elementary children? And are we doing anything about hotspots for kids who don't have, and teachers who don't have access to the internet?
So yeah, so we did order hotspots. The problem with the hotspots is everyone in America has ordered hotspots. And so we think that we will probably get them, let's say 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. And then each of the principals have already tagged who has reached out in regards to those hotspots and who would potentially need them. So the principals will control who potentially needs them. In regards to the students, same thing. So we've already had feedback from all of the parents in terms of what's going on up to this point. That is going to probably change though, once they actually get on. Some of the things that are going to happen are, a lot of the programs. I was on a program last night and working with one of my children, and it was very slow. Now that company has already come forward and said, it doesn't really have anything to do with the Wi-Fi. It doesn't really have anything to do with what's going on in your home. It has everything to do with the amount of usage that's happening on their end. And so that's going to be, I believe, issues that all of these companies are currently going to be working on right now. They said that they're going to fix it. Hopefully they do. That's going to be an added problem when parents are trying to get things done with their kids. And if the program's not being, that's going to be an issue. There's also paper copies and things like that for the equity of learning. So we also understand that there are some students that do not have internet, do not have the devices. So we are going to address that in a different way. And then in regards to what you just asked, we've had some elementary parents ask about the Chromebooks in terms of could they get one because they don't want to use, let's say they only have a phone and it's too small to work on their phone because they don't have a device in their home. And we will accommodate those individually as we need to. But we want to get it going and work through that first week, which is going to be the hardest, and then see all the problems that flood in, how we're going to address them and address those needs. So we've thought about all those pieces. We've talked about all of them, but there are some things that we just don't know what are going to happen yet, and we're going to kind of just work through that curve. And then as those issues come in, we'll address them.
Jeremy, do you think it would be beneficial for the continuity of education plan to be shared with the board?
Yeah, I will. So I have it right now in front of me, and we're just trying to make sure that it's all in sync. So Kathy has been working diligent day, putting it all together. And I have it currently right here in front of me. And her job was melding it all together, making sure that there's consistency in all four schools, making sure that we're all kind of doing the same thing, so that the communication. I have children in several ways. So for a parent like me, it doesn't make sense for all of my children. And several community members are going to be in the same boat where they have kids in different schools as well as kids within the same school that have different teachers, obviously, and just making sure it all makes sense. And so it's our best laid plan, like I said.
That's also going to be changing frequently. Like I'm putting the disclaimer right on ours. This is a live document that could possibly change.
It's going to change. You need to start someplace in order to then change it. So we're there are within the continuity of learning plans, there's guidelines for how much time things should be taking. Online learning takes right now longer than maybe what it should. And so we're trying to give guidelines of how long this should take and how many assignments a day kids should have. And it's not going to be like bombarding them. But one of the hardest issues that we'll have is it too much or is it not too much? So my oldest daughter is saying, man, this is a lot. I said, well, you need to email your teacher and let your teacher know that. And maybe they're getting feedback from other students in the class as well that maybe it's a lot. So when you're in front of kids in the classroom, teacher can make those adjustments all day long and say, all right, we're going to push the test till Friday, even though today's Wednesday, and even though we're supposed to have it today, we're going to push it. And those types of things are going to have to work themselves out in terms of the teachers will need feedback as well. And I anticipate we will get that feedback.
When is this rolling out?
So the 20th is when the fourth quarter will basically start. So right now we're taking care of report cards, we're taking care of getting all of those pieces rolled out, trying to figure out how we're going to do that fairly so that we don't hurt students, obviously. And then it'll roll out the 20th, and that'll start with the new instruction. So they're working through that right now, and they're going to be issued, and how we were going to report out was long discussions in terms of what was going to go on those report cards.
And there's a lot coming from the state too, in regards to what's counting for course credits and granting course credits in Regents. So we really, yes and no, there's flexibility with that, but there really is. So there is some kind of concrete guidance of what we need to do to make sure that we provide those quarter grades. Jane, you're on, you're muted. Are you talking about the packet?
Yeah, the packets. Will they be mailed or will they be delivered through, like the lunches?
So packets will, in the beginning, the first packets will be mailed out, but we won't be able to sustain mailing them out all the time. So then after the original mail out, what will happen is we'll be communicating with parents, drop off situations and pick up situations if they can do that. And then we'll also coordinate with the buses, with the lunches, drop off and pick up as well. And so in the beginning, the organization of that, certainly in the beginning, maybe the toughest. And then the one thing that office staff is great at, and people that will be receiving the information, is they will organize it very quickly, and teachers and assistants and aides do that very well, and they'll figure out a system with how to intake that stuff and also how to give it to the bus drivers and organize it out. I mean, it's going to be, it won't be perfect in the beginning. It certainly won't, but I think through time, as long as everyone's willing to work with us, we'll figure it out.
So I know that Kathy is on here, and I just wanted to, if there was anything that you wanted to add, Kathy. She did say that there was a lot of feedback on the
She's
line.
getting a lot of feedback.
Can you hear me?
That's what she just kind of said to me. So
There she is.
Board members,
You're
hold
there.
on, Kathy, before you start. Board members, this is
So
really
I know that-
awkward, but as soon as you finish asking a question or making a statement, just turn your microphone off.
Grading one as well. So I know it's a lot of time, it's a lot of thought, it's a lot of, problem solving on the go. So I appreciate, again, the administrative team that is coming together and working cohesively to get that completed. I'm sure that the state is going to be requiring us to send it in again as
We will.
the new deadlines are coming out soon. Anything else for board discussion? Oh, Maggie.
I just wanted to say how important I think, and a big thank you to everybody that's doing all these community building activities, like the videos that the teachers have done, the lighting of the football field, the foundation giving out extra treats, and, Jess Spotto putting the "We Miss You" signs up. I just think it's important that we do as much as we can to continue to build the community of Central Valley too, and know that how much the kids are missed here, and that we're all the teachers and all the staff are still really thinking about all of them. So I give a lot of credit to everyone involved in those activities too.
So I just got dropped. I think I'm back on, so I'll try to respond to that.
back on. Okay. So I agree, Maggie. The amount of community building is really important. The videos that were made, the amount of time it takes to make those videos is not simple. And so Michael and Gina and Brittany, and the time that they took to make that video, I think was great for the community. The lighting of the lights is something that's simple, and we plan to do it every Thursday. And where I was kind of shocked on the first time is a bunch of people showed up and just kind of sat there in the parking lot and put their lights on, and I thought that was neat. I didn't expect that. So those things are all great. And then I was driving down Behringer Road and saw Jess Spotto in the playground area, and I kind of peeled in there because I didn't know it was her, and I'm like, they're not supposed to be in the playground. So when I drove by, I was going to kind of say politely, you're not allowed in the playground, and I saw what they were doing, and that was really neat as well. So it is important to let everyone know that we're in this together. There's other videos that I know about. I don't want to kind of say what they are that are going to be coming out. And so we're trying to release something at least once a week for the, just for the greater good, and make sure that everyone knows that we're all kind of in this together and trying to do our best.
I think all that stuff is being very well received by the community.
Good.
So I shared too that along with what Maggie said, we've worked really hard on, establishing a climate and culture in our district and kind of getting it to a point where our community feels like they're a part of everything that we're doing. So, I just ask that, during these times when tensions and things are high, just remember that, our top priority is our kids, and that, things are going to change. Change is not easy, and being open and flexible is appreciated. We want to be able to continue to move forward as the Central Valley School District. We've made a lot of great strides, so I just want to continue to see us moving forward in that direction. So I appreciate all of those things too. The Jarvis video, that was great too. So I just appreciate all those teachers too coming together to do that. Anything else for board discussion? Trev?
Yeah, so how are we dealing with the students that are normally going to BOCES most of the time? Is BOCES reaching out to them, or are we reaching out to them?
I could speak to that.
Go ahead.
So we have our own continuity of education plan over at BOCES. Our CTE programs and our PTech programs, those kids are still receiving their education as well as the students that receive that are in our full day programs. So if they are the full day program students, then ultimately those are BOCES students to begin with. Those teachers are continuing to provide the instruction. They're still getting the related services. They are following IEPs to the maximum extent possible, because there are no waivers on making sure that we're providing services for students with IEPs. But CTE, right now there is kind of nothing from the state. I think, health science, they definitely put some directives out there because they want to waive some of those hour requirements to try to get our CNAs. And actually the CNAs, a lot of our senior CNAs already took their test and passed. So, some of those students might be working. So, we're thinking about those things too. There's a plea from the governor that is asking for those students to, if they can, go to work and help out. So, for Central Valley and all of our component districts to recognize that might be something that is happening in our kids' homes, that they're working to fill those needs. So credentials, things like that, we're still waiting on a lot of guidance from that. I know our students in our welding programs are just waiting to find out whether or not they'll be able to take their certification because they've got jobs lined up already. But nothing has come from the state yet in regards to that. But we are moving forward. Same thing, reaching out to students. We have our own plan, mailing packets. What we're finding with Central Valley and some of our other more rural districts too is that even if we provide hotspots, they still can't get access because they don't have cell service. So there's a lot that goes into it in trying to navigate that. So, I mean, we're delivering packets, we're calling, checking, doing well child checks too. And I think that's important maybe for us to note too here that, our kids that are disengaged and that haven't been able to get a hold of. I know the SRO, we're utilizing the SROs in the BOCE service to kind of get to those homes and do well child visits too. So we're trying to make sure that every kid's accounted for. An answer. Probably a lot more in detail about what BOCES is doing, but.
Oh, and, is there any word on exactly, like, issues for candidates, timelines?
No. So we're hoping that the original executive order didn't give the guidance at that point, and we're waiting for guidance on that. Obviously, the signature piece and how that's all going to work.
That's washed out right now, so we have a definite date.
Yeah, we will get more guidance on that for sure.
Yeah, and even on the forums, they're still waiting for that. I mean, everything, had been pushed back for elections and things like that until at least June 1st. So that we do know. But, in regards to getting signatures, things like that, we still don't know kind of where the deadlines are. So I know it's every Saturday, it's the same question being asked. So yeah. Anything else for board discussion? Okay. Are we moving forward with?
Yeah.
We are going to do this?
Yep.
Okay.
And then,
I know a lot of,
if anyone has a question, they'll have to turn their mic on. We'll hear it, but we won't respond back to it. We'll respond back at a later.
okay. So I'm going to right now, I know that Mr. Rich's mic wasn't
it's
on,
not
trying to
yet.
explain that, so I can explain it, that's fine. So we're gonna move on to the public open forum, but I want to kind of put some parameters around how this is going to work, that if you do have questions, you will need to unmute your mic and then state your question, but know that the Board of Ed will not be able to respond at this time. So we'll take note of your question, and hopefully Mr. Rich or myself can get back to you at a later date. I think that probably just covered everything that was just in our spiel, but I'll read it anyway. At this time, we'd like to give the public an opportunity to comment about this agenda or about programs or operations within the school. Comments on personnel matters will not be addressed in public session. All comments will be noted and responded to by the Board of Education president or superintendent at a later date. We ask that you keep your comments to 10 minutes or less. So again, you can state your question, but we will not be engaging in dialogue, question, answer. So if there's anybody that has anything, you are more than welcome to unmute your mic and ask your questions. There is a chat feature as well, just if you feel like you want to type a question. Okay, all right, then moving on. Let me just keep making sure my mic's there. So are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda for individual consideration? Anybody? All right, then I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, capital A. Oh, that's a short one, to D. Need a motion? Maggie and Jane. Do they need to unmute their mics to vote so everybody can hear them?
Kelly?
Anything other than methods, and we'll do roll call.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
In this case, the consent would have to be, you've already agreed.
Yeah. I'm just thinking for future. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Okay, motion carried. Do we have anything for old business? Okay, moving on to new business. A, the approval of memorandum of agreement with CVTA, teacher on special assignment for Garrett Olds as the sports and eligibility coordinator effective July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Jane? Jonah? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. Approval of arrangement of services, CSC, CPSC 504 accommodation plan meetings. I need a motion. Matt and Jonah, any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Aye. Motion carried. C, approval of the 2019-2020 school calendar revision. School now be in session on Friday, May 22nd, 2020. Motion? Matt? Jonah? Yeah, so any discussion?
Because the governor's order basically said that when we had the original order, we have to be in school a certain amount of days. And we also have to use, when we ended up closing prior to the governor's order, I had to kind of use 2 days for, I had to use our 2 emergency days for that because the governor's order started 2 days later. And then in order to have, let's say, a cushion or a safety day, I'm going to need that day. And so we're going to take that day back. That was a day that was an additional day within our original schedule. And so I have to take that day back. If school's in. School's in. Yes. I on you.
You were, but it was still recording because my mic is still on. I was making sure. That's why I also turned on the captioning.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right.
You have to vote.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. We have the D, approval of resolution for participation in education law 2D opt-in agreement. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Jane and Jonah, any discussion?
This was just pretty broad, just participate.
Yeah, so Kyle kind of takes charge of our ed law 2D stuff. And by us opting in, we needed to opt in this. And it's probably more complicated than we need to discuss. If it's something we need to do.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. E, approval of BOCES 2020-2021 administrative budget. Need a motion? Was that Matt first? Okay, and then Jonah. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. F, so we have the approval of BOCES board candidates. Marcia, do you have that in front of you? And just read. Yeah, I think so.
There's 4 districts.
Okay, so the board has an opportunity to cast 1 vote, total of 4 for each of the vacancies. There's 4 3-term seats effective July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2023. You have the option of voting for James Schmidt, Rhonda Liacano, Deborah Kessler, and Linda Tharp, with the board's pleasure on each of those candidates.
I need to make a motion and second, right? And then vote or grant our approval. Okay, so I need a motion. Maggie? Jonah? Do we have any discussion?
3 of them are incumbents. There's
3 of
only
them are incumbents. One's new?
1's new. fill in a vacancy for Poland.
Oh, okay. All right. Any other discussion? With the board's pleasure, do we kind of all in agreement to cast our vote in support of 4 candidates? Yep. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Please note again that the next Board of Education meeting may be, or is scheduled for May 27th, 2020 as a regular meeting, but it is subject to change dependent on status of our schools. Right now, I need a motion to adjourn. Matt, Jonah, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you all. Kyle, I appreciate you being our, behind the scene wizard. So hopefully next time any other quirks we'll have figured out.
Thank you all.
So you do need to end the meeting, so at the bottom you
I can't get that screen up again.